Hi everyone. I want to tell you a little bit today about my strength training journey and let you know how somatic movement has significantly helped me with that. So we all know how important strength work is, right? Especially as we are getting a little bit older. Go and look it up if you don't know. It's such an important part of what we do, particularly as we move through life. You might be at a stage where there are things that get in your way, right? And I have been there. My own journey has included chronic fatigue, chronic pain. I have struggled to find the time. I live a very full life, as I'm sure a lot of you do. Finding the motivation has been really challenging, but also I have never been someone who exercises for the sake of exercising. I've always enjoyed being quite physical, some quite sort of physical sports and hobbies and things. I used to be a skier. I love to dance, as a lot of you know. The idea of doing exercise for exercise's sake, it was just not on my radar. But the more I learned about strength training, the more I learned about the importance of getting stronger as we age, the more I just realise I've got to do it, right? I've got to start somewhere. I've got to get going with this. The main motivation for me was getting older. I am in my late 40s and I was starting to sort of experience what aging meant in my body and starting to understand what I needed to do to make my aging process the most healthful that it can be. One of those things, of course, was somatic movement and understanding how important that is for kind of just getting us moving and keeping us moving and making movement more comfortable. But I also realised that I had to get strength work into my life if I want to be as well as I can be for as long as I can be. So another thing was, a few years back, some of you will know this, I promised myself that by the age of 50, I would be in the best physical shape of my life. I actually have a little addition to that now. Best physical shape of my life up to then. After that, I plan on getting even better. However, you get to your late 40s and you realise that anything you're aiming to do by 50, you're kind of running out of time, right? So there was that in the back of my mind, I'm approaching a half century. I got to get going on this. There's no time like the present and all that. But I'm also a parent of 3 children. We home educate them. I really want to be as able and as available to them as I can be, as well as looking after myself, right? So the strength work does take up another chunk of my time, for sure, but I really do see it as a hugely valuable investment for both myself and for what I can bring to our family as we all move through our lives. So a year ago, I found a local personal trainer. I resonated with her work and I thought I'll reach out and I'll do like a handful of weekly sessions because I just need something like some oomph to get me started, and then I'll just crack on my own, right? But I got so much out of them and it was so motivating to actually go to the sessions, and I actually enjoy them so much that I have just carried on. Who would have thought? I find it really challenging. I sweat a lot. She goes, "How are you finding that?" And I go, like I'm really challenged by the sessions, but I actually really, really enjoy them. I enjoy feeling more of what my body can do, right? And over the year, I've gradually built up what I'm able to do from pretty much nothing to I can now hold a plank position for 45 seconds. I can do a dead hang for 30 seconds. At least. I actually haven't done it for a bit, so I can probably do a bit more than that now. I can do like 30 squats like proper good, like low squats where I feel it, but it's not, I'm not killing myself to do it. You know what I mean? I can lift heavier weights than I could when I started out. I'm particularly happy that whilst I've always been relatively strong in my legs compared to my upper body, it's great that they're getting stronger, but also I can actually now see my biceps in my upper arms. And I tell you, that is very gratifying. And I'm pretty proud of where I've got to now. I have put a lot of work into it. It is a lot of effort. It is a struggle to find the time, but feeling stronger over time in my late 40s is really encouraging to me. And my feeling is that it's only going to get better. All that aside, I have also noticed a massive difference in my functional, how I live my life, right? And that is what it's all about, right? For example, we did a massive garden clear out the other day. We wanted to have a barbecue, but like the garden was like a jungle. There was nowhere to do it. So we had this massive clear out, spent hours on it, and I was able to lift really heavy things like paving slabs, plant pots that were full, like big plant pots full of soil, things like that. And it was heavy, it was hard, but it was really, really doable for me. And it didn't cause me any problems, didn't injure myself or kind of suffer the next day for it. I knew I'd been in the garden, right? I could feel it, but I didn't suffer for it. I notice when I go climbing with my kids that I can now push through my legs in a much more sort of efficient way, shall we say. I can push through my legs to get me to holds that I couldn't get to before. And a couple of weeks ago, we even climbed a mountain. I'm going to tell you more about that in the future. And I actually coped really well. Again, I could feel it, but I didn't feel like it was causing me trouble. And again, the next day, I could feel that like muscles had worked, but no, it wasn't like I was extremely fatigued or anything like that. There was no pain. And at one point, I even spent some time carrying 2 bags because one of my children needed a bit of a break, and that was what was going to kind of give them that break to get up there. So I'm carrying 2 bags. It was fine. Wasn't even a problem. And I really believe that wouldn't have been the case a year ago. I mean, I wouldn't have even attempted climbing a mountain a year ago. So it's taken time, it's taken effort, but I am really seeing the benefits now. And I really do think this is just the start. But what has somatic movement got to do with strength training? Maybe you already do strength training, but you're finding like little niggles, or you're not making the progress that you hope to. Or maybe you'd like to start strength training, but actually that doesn't feel like something you can do right now. And believe me, I was there a while back. I don't think I would have been able to start strength training without somatic movement. The fatigue, the pain that I managed was kind of put me in more like survival than like really living my life and thriving. Strength training just felt like way out of reach, way too much, way out of my league. But because somatic movement releases the muscle tension that can cause pain, that uses excessive energy, that stops you moving in the ways that, mean you can do things like strength training. Through doing that work with somatic movement, I was reducing the pain, I was increasing the energy, I was increasing my freedom of movement. And that was one of the ways that I was then able to access strength training. It also uses gentle developmental movements, and you can access them within your current capacity from wherever you are right now. So you can build up slowly and safely in terms of learning to move more, moving more comfortably, moving more efficiently. So somatic movement enabled me to get started with strength training. once I was doing it, and this might speak to some of you because you're already doing this sort of work, the ability that I gained from somatic movement of sensing my own soma, my living body as I experience it, really made me feel like I can access the strength work much more safely and more effectively than I otherwise would have been able to do. So I can really easily check in with what I'm feeling as I train. I'm able to notice things like which muscles are working, or like when they maybe ought to be, but they're not, what position my body is in, the positions the parts of my body are in. That's not always easy as it sounds. We might think, we've got beautiful form, and then if someone took a photo, we might be like, no, that's not what I thought I was doing, right? It's actually really difficult to sense how your body is positioned and moving in space. And somatic movement is absolutely brilliant for helping us with that. I also find it keeps me safe in terms of I have a really good sense of like how heavy I can go with the weights. Maybe, something's a bit niggly and I need to shift something, or I say that actually that movement, not today, right? That sort of thing. It's helped me a lot with when I've got sort of left to right imbalances in my body, how I can do something about that isn't gonna force anything, right? So if maybe you're kind of doing a squat or something like that, and one knee is like pulling in one way, how can I release something to have my knee move more in the direction that I want it to move, rather than just like forcing it to move in that way that it's obviously not ready for, that it can't yet do, right? So it really helps to stop you overriding sensations and forcing things that are potentially going to cause you problems. So all of this helps me to recognize my limits, keep myself safe, and be using the muscles that I'm supposed to be using in that movement, so that then the strength work that I'm doing is as effective as it can be, and I can then get more out of my sessions. So in terms of getting started with strength training, obviously recommendation is that you check in with your family doctor before you start on anything new. So that would always be a great thing to get started with. If you can find and afford some one-to-one sessions to get you going, that is a fantastic thing to do. The risk being that you then can't give them up because you enjoy them so much. But even if you do a handful of sessions, just having someone kind of help you to do it correctly, get some tailored support. Here's what you need right now. This is a good sort of weight for you to start with, or whatever. That's really helpful. I haven't personally managed to find a group class that suits my schedule right now, but in terms of motivation and sort of feeling like you're not alone in this work, I think group classes would be absolutely brilliant. They've certainly helped me a lot in, other things that I've done in life. So that would be worth seeking out. It's really okay to start small. In fact, I think it's preferable to start small and build up from there. So don't be afraid to just get started and it feel like, what good is this going to do me? Start small. It's fine. Just start with something. And there is absolutely tons of information and offerings out there. And I know that can be overwhelming because you think, is this right for me? Is that right for me? Would this be better than that? You can really get in a kind of muddle, in a whirlwind of what's available. So my advice is the invitation is just to kind of have a look around, see what's available, and then pick one and get going with it and stick with it for a while. See what resonates for you. And then maybe in a month or two, you might go, okay, that's given me that, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. Find something else. But pick something, just start, and do give it a fair go. Yes? And sort of schedule it in. Make sure you got some time in your day when you can actually do this work. And then, of course, for me, incorporating somatic movement work, both to keep you safe and also to maximize what you get out of your strength training. So I hope that helps. I hope that it's made you feel like maybe strength training could be accessible to you one day, or maybe the strength training you're doing could be sort of tweaked and polished up and make it work better for you, right? Find the somatic movements that the sort of practice that means you can get started with that, and that meshing of somatic movement and strength training, I think, is going to be an absolutely brilliant way to give you a foundation that is going to help you to thrive in your life going forwards. All right, I'm really excited to see where somatic movement and strength training takes me. I'm really excited to see where it takes you. I would love to hear from you and hear your thoughts on where you're at and what you hope to do next. All right, see you in the next video.